What's up, world? Uko here from Better Therapy Now. Joe Goldberg explained the psychology behind Netflix's most dangerous romantic. Let's dive into the psychological profile of Joe Goldberg. He's the lead psycho in the Netflix rom-com thriller slash stalker series You. He has obvious mental health disorders like schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia, borderline personality disorder. So there's about 4 key traits that Joe Goldberg has throughout all 5 seasons. One is obsessive fixation. Joe becomes intensely fixated on romantic interests, often idealizing them to extreme lengths. 2 is manipulative behavior. He often manipulates his environment and relationships to obtain control. The main metaphor for this is his construction of this glass cage that he can see through and where he traps his victims. He reconstructs this glass cage throughout all 5 seasons. And it's always in some sort of basement, kind of like the depths of his mind. 3 is a lack of empathy. His lack of empathy is usually shown through how he rationalizes harmful actions. And number 4 is identity disturbance. Joe often takes on new personas and identities and new names, which represents a fragmented sense of self. So the first mental health disorder that comes to mind when you're talking about Joe is borderline personality disorder, BPD. Some of the core features of BPD are intense feelings of abandonment, intense and toxic interpersonal relationships, identity disturbance, emotional instability, chronic feelings of emptiness, and really intense anger. For Joe, fear of abandonment is the main feature. There's constant flashbacks to his relationship with his mother, who abandoned him and really tied him up in a lot of corrupt and toxic relationships. There's a flashback scene where she just leaves him. And then there's another flashback scene where he finds her and she's with another kid. The emotional turmoil from being abandoned by your primary caregiver as a child and then finding that primary caregiver with another child that she's taking care of explains why his anger and emotional intensity and turmoil goes to psychotic levels. The next mental health disorder that comes to mind when you're talking about Joe is schizophrenia, which really comes to play in season 4. Core features of schizophrenia: delusions, hallucinations, and very disorganized behavior. So now we're talking Joe's complete full season hallucination of Rice Montrose. Joe believes that Rice is a completely separate individual and author who ends up stalking and taunting him. But by the end of the season, you find out that Rice is a complete manifestation of his own psyche. This break from reality aligns with the psychotic symptoms of schizophrenia, but his break from reality is mostly associated with stress-related events, and he doesn't display any of the disorganized behavior that's typical of somebody with schizophrenia. The next mental health disorder that comes to mind is schizoaffective disorder, which is commonly confused with schizophrenia. The main difference is that mood symptoms are the key feature of schizoaffective disorder. So schizophrenia is marked by hallucinations, delusions, whereas schizoaffective disorder is marked by a blend of mood disorder and hallucinations and delusions. When we're talking about Joe's mental health, he falls more in line with schizophrenia, but very inconsistently and only when he's really stressed out. If anything, Joe's more likely suffering from a brief psychotic disorder, which are normally triggered by stress. Another consideration for Joe's mental health is antisocial personality disorder. Some core features are disregard for people's rights, deceitfulness, impulsivity, being really aggressive, disregard for safety, and a lack of remorse for others. Obviously, Joe is super deceitful. The entire show is marked by his deceitfulness and the strategy of his deceitfulness. His disregard for others and lack of remorse are really marked by the voiceover and how he rationalizes all of his actions so that he looks like the hero of his own story. Overall, Joe Goldberg's character in You represents a very complex psychological profile. He exhibits traits of all types of mental health disorders, specifically in the realm of psychosis and other personality disorders. Do you have any experience with any of these mental health disorders? Drop them in the comment below and let me know what your favorite thing about the show You is. I'm Uko from Better Therapy Now. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.